Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I'm Mike.
I'm Jay.
And this is a Patreon especial review for our friend Preston. Preston, thank you for picking this movie, man. It's one that I don't know if I'd never seen before, and I'm glad as shit to have watched it. And it's a really good pick for Halloween Horror Month. The movie is called Maniac. I always go to I'm a maniac.
I think the motherfucker that wrote this shit was a maniac, like for real.
Shit.
Goddamn you and had a big ass goddamn obsession with American Doll.
Dude, fun story about that song. Maniac was actually written, the classic song Maniac that was in Flashdance was actually written for this movie, and it was the lyrics were tied into the movie. They decided not to use it and to go with something else, and then that classic song Maniac ended up being used for Flashdance.
Wisely.
Crazy
good
world
job
that we live in, Jim.
That's like putting like the best, like, I don't know, CD player in a Volvo from 1986.
It's the Pioneer with the dolphins that show up.
The main guy, the maniac himself,
Joe Spinell.
Do you know that he was from fucking Rocky 1 and 2 and The Godfather?
Yeah. This
is what happens when they don't get little biscuits from Rocky's fame.
In my brain, I connect this movie right to Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, which starred Michael Rooker in. It's almost like a character piece about a serial killer. Like, it's really, it's downtrodden, it's low budget, it's dark as fuck, it's weird as shit. If you've seen Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer and you haven't seen this, they really do have the same kind of DNA.
I mean, I don't know, it was alright. I just felt like they were really desperately trying to recreate Psycho with that shit, like in some way or another. Like, I mean, look, you can try to be original all you want. The best thing that came from the film was their use of graphic, like, brutality as far as like their kills, and I fucking hate scalping, and there was all sorts of scalping going on. Tom Savini was in the Sex Machine. He was in the film as well, and he helped on the effects. The practical effects were done really well. The shotgun specific scene when the maniac gets up and blasts fucking Tom Savini's face off like he's in a porn, that looks really good. And that actually reminded me of when Tom Savini was talking about in Dawn of the Dead how he made that effect happen. So I definitely think that Tom Savini
he did the effects for it.
So yeah, so there you go. Like, Tom Savini has such a unique stylization on when he works on films. You can always tell it's bloody, it's disgusting, it's always creative, it's always something new. And for that time in 1980, it was really groundbreaking in that sense. The fact that it was disgustingly realistic as far as like they could make it on their budget. Again, he was lauded for his effects in Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead, because he was doing effects that no one had ever seen before. That, to me, is what stands out with Maniac. The character itself, like as far as the character study goes, it's not bad. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen before. It just sometimes, like the guy himself, like there's so many goddamn red flags that are going off when he's talking to girls and shit the way that he is, that you would immediately assume that this guy's a weird creeper that has a foot fetish. Like, he just looks like a guy that has a foot fetish and like likes to smell bologna at night. I don't know, just weird shit. Like, I don't know what he does, but he just looks like that guy. He looks like he smells like BO and P, and he like has a foot fetish and like smells bologna and like, I don't know, just weird stuff. And then he gives himself away because when he gets excited and wants to do, like, take the girl's hair off because she uses Tresemme or Vivaldi Sassoon, he's like,
There's a lot. This movie, if you caption every movie that's ever been made,
motherfucker needs a Ricola.
I'm willing to bet that this movie has the word moan in the captions more than any other non-porn movie in the history of film.
I don't want to knock the film, though. And again, thank you, Preston, for, because I heard the movie. Did they remake this with Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
No, they remade the movie with Elijah Wood. The remake was actually really good. I actually enjoyed the remake.
See, I would like to see the remake because I feel like the story is solid. I feel like it's really boss. Like, as far as a baseline story that they can build on with at least a better budget and more. I don't want to take anything away from the main guy in it, but just more of a solid all-around kind of actor. Elijah Wood would definitely be a guy that I would love to see in this role, and that I'm glad that he did it, but I always get him and Gordon-Levitt confused. They look like brothers. But so the main thing about the film, though, when I say it's a psycho, is because he's an abused guy that was abused by his mother and made to feel inferior because his mother was a hooker walking the streets, and he had to hide in the closet and got cigarette burns, and obviously he's fucked up when he grows up, and he talks to himself in his mother's voice, and he's like, "You're not going out tonight." Fuck. Like, I mean, there's only one Norman Bates and there's only one Psycho that did it like the way they did it, and Alfred Hitchcock won that bet. But I'm not saying that they don't have a right to try it again. maybe again the best thing Tom Savini was working on the film as far as the effects go. I just feel like overall maybe it was the low budget. It wasn't the budget needed for such a storytelling event that they were trying to go for.
It's one of those things. Why do people like the film? So for me personally, I didn't really enjoy my time watching the film because it's not fun. It's not an easy movie to watch. It's a dark,
and they're scalping.
Yeah, it's a dark, dreary character study of a serial killer, and they go right into this character. Like, he's just walking the streets, a prostitute hits him up, they go up to the room together, and it's dark, it's very, very voyeuristic, it's very, very fucking home video type feeling, and it's fucked up. The things they had to do to make this movie happen is insane. Like, Joe Spinell himself, his name's all over the credits when you watch it. He had so much to do with this. They put in so much of their own money to make this movie happen.
So he's a real life guy from Rocky. he fucking funded it himself, goddammit.
He paid him to train. But they put a lot of work into this as a low budget movie. They wanted to make it happen. Siskel and Ebert fucking hated it. A bunch of people hated the fucking movie. They shit all against it. But you gotta give these people credit because they really wanted to make this movie happen. They really wanted to tell this story. Now, watching it today, as I watch it, it wasn't something that I enjoyed a whole lot watching, but it does go to far extremes. If you're looking for a serial killer movie that goes to those extremes, it does. There's scalping in the movie. Tom Savini, and I want to talk about Tom Savini in a second, but Tom Savini plays a character in this movie, and he's in the credits as like Disco Boy or whatever, and he's having sex in a car or whatever.
Sex machine.
The funny thing about this is they didn't even have permits to film this scene. Tom Savini's with this girl, they're making out in the backseat, they're about to have sex or whatever, and then Joe Spinell's character shows up, he's looking in the windows, and he jumps on the hood of the car and shoots him with a double-barrel shotgun in the face. And that was actually, the effect of the head exploding was actually a dummy that Savini had used on the zombie films he'd done before that was just on its last legs, and he was like, I just want to send it off. They ended up dropping it in the bridge, or dropping it off the bridge.
You know what's funny? But they put cocktail sauce and shit in that fucking head.
Yeah.
That's how they make the gooey shit. And he said he put cocktail sauce and a bunch of weird nasty stuff in there.
The effects are the star of this movie for me. Aside from it being a real character study of a serial killer, and you have to give them credit because they built a serial killer. They took a serial killer and they gave him realistic serial killer traits. What his origins were, his history with his mom, why he wants to kill people. There's a point in the film where he meets a photographer and he's talking to her, and he's like, and she sells her pictures of women, and he's asking her, why don't you just keep them? He's like, why don't you keep them to yourself for forever? Because that's his whole thing. He scalps these women and he puts their scalps on mannequins, which is super fucked up and scary and weird. He puts their scalps on mannequins in his apartment. He handcuffs them to the bed, and he's like, you'll never leave me like my mom ever. It's this really fucked up thing. But they really do a good job of diving into this dark, awful place to spend time. You watch, the camera does not pull away. He scalps people. You get to slowly watch the knife go to their head, cut their head open, split it back. You get to watch everything. And Tom Savini even admitted himself that he feels like he went a little bit too far with this film.
Tom Savini is one of a great love of horror, and he's always known that. Like, and there's a guy, I don't remember the channel, that they go on to a tour with him on his schoolhouse or whatever he has for makeup effects and artists, and he's really an approachable guy. He's got nothing but love for the horror genre, and he gives credit where credit is due. He mentions a lot of people while they're on the tour. Grim something, I can't remember the YouTube channel's name. But Tom Savini himself is a mastermind, and he's one of those guys that always has pushed the boundary of anything special effects or practical effects. And he always wanted to go further than the last guy did it before. And there's a really interesting documentary, if you guys get a chance to check it out, on George Romero with Dawn of the Dead and the Day of the Dead, when he was talking about doing and working for Romero, and that Romero got it. Romero understood what he was trying to do, and Romero would give him free reign. Tom Savini is he seems like such a sweet guy, and he seems so just really honored to be where he is, and he actually thanks everyone that got him to where he is. And his work on this film by itself is what's memorable of this film. I mean, because it was even tagged in the on Wikipedia or something that a lot of audience members and critics felt they pushed it too far and they went too far with it. That's because Tom Savini was doing the effects, and the practical effects was what was memorable about the film. Not necessarily the film itself, even though people do like it for whatever reason, and that's fine. People are allowed to do that, but it's the effects that make that movie. Day of the Dead is one of my favorite films of all time, and that movie is a great film. I mean, I like the movie itself, but a lot of people didn't like Day of the Dead when Romero did it. They liked the effects of Day of the Dead. The Day of the Dead effects were, I remember, you know, the fucking head being ripped off. There's literally in the scene in Maniac, the same scene they use in the 1985 Day of the Dead is the same scene when his head is ripped the fuck off, and it's such a cool effect, and his mouth is still moving while they rip his body apart. They use that same scene, or Savini did, in the 1985 Day of the Dead when they ripped one of the army guys' fucking head off, and his mouth is still moving, and he makes that weird scream. At the end of the day, I don't think it's as far as a character study of a serial killer and all that, it's not a bad film. And as far as the approach goes, like the baseline story was there. I just feel like maybe it was because it was so poorly funded, and they didn't have, like, you know, in one scene you said specifically a permit to film, so it felt rushed in some way, or they were, you know, maybe that scene would have played out better and more dramatically if it had like a better like budget or like a permit going. I don't know. I mean, there's one scene specifically where it looks like the director is in, like, across the street behind a fucking fogged up glass, filming the shit like one of those old ass timey cameras. It just looked like shit. It looked like he filmed it in his backyard. Like, I don't know where that was coming from, and I guess they only had so much money for their camera equipment. I'm gonna give the movie a 4.5. Honestly, and that's the most honest score I could give it. I could lie and say it's higher than that, but I don't want to do that. I want to be fair, and overall, like, what I enjoyed the most about the film were the effects, and I could see where that was the rookie year of Tom Savini in a lot of ways. Dawn of the Dead was probably rookie, but it was a rookie year kind of exploring and using different techniques on blood and gore and effect, and then pushing that as he got older and more experienced. That's what I liked the most about it. But again, I'm not going to say that the people that had anything to do with the film, as far as the actors and actresses go, they were terrible. I just felt like some of them were miscast, and they just didn't really play out in the way that I think it could have played out.
I think it's a movie that when you look at how the movie got built, and you look at what it took to make the movie, and they used adult porn stars in the movie to get certain scenes made. They went through all, like, they really believed in this movie. And if you watch the credits come up, Joe Spinell's name is all over it. Like, the people who made the movie really, really believed in it, and I think I respect that a lot, and I respect this movie's place in horror movie history. When you say Maniac, even if people haven't seen the movie, I feel like they've heard it before. You know what I mean?
I thought you said when you said Maniac, I thought you meant Maniac Cop.
Well, same director.
That's what I mean. I thought you meant Maniac Cop.
Same director that did the Maniac Cop movies did this, but as far as it being an enjoyable film to watch, it's not. It's not an enjoyable film to watch, and I completely agree with you on that. That when you're watching it, it's a dark place to spend an hour and a half. But when I try to look at it subjectively, I see it as they built a serial killer, and they went through a lot of hoops to really create the levels of the serial killer, where he's talking to his mom, why he's doing what he's doing, the intricacies of what he does and how he does it. Joe Spinell, I thought, did a great job. I thought the movie was really fucked up, and it really was like watching amateur porn. You watch amateur porn, it felt like the amateur porn version of a fucking serial killer movie.
Yeah, like you're on Pornhub and you're watching the professionally trained, I don't know how you're porn actresses. You're like, I just want to watch something fucking raw. Yeah. Let me watch this shit that was filmed in a hotel fucking or a Motel 6.
Yeah,
that sounds good. Okay,
and it's exactly what this movie feels like. It feels like an amateur porn version of the house that Jack built type of fucked up movie, man.
Yeah, well, the house that Jack built, perfected.
And that's way later, and they had money and all that shit.
But I'll say, like, do you think that this film, made with a better budget and casting? Obviously they're older now, but if they were the same age, and they cast in today's society and they were going to go raw dog with it, do you think it would have gotten away with censors? Or do you think they would have been like, no,
it didn't get away with censors then. I'm really glad that you mentioned it. I'm glad that you requested it, Preston. I'm really glad that we watched it. Ultimately, I give the movie, for me, a 6.5. And by the way, the women in this movie are so fucking stupid. They are so fucking stupid. She's hiding in a bathroom stall and trying to be quiet, and she's going.
Dude, that first fucking thing, yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. There's one specific scene when she thinks the coast is clear. She might as well come out with a fucking megaphone attached to her esophagus, because she was like, It's like, okay, so if he had left you alone and you had been quiet enough, the whole fucking precinct heard you. Like everybody on the fucking this end of town heard
And when
you.
he kills her, it's actually scary. He's like, oh, you like that? And he stabs her. The kill scenes are actually scary. They're uncomfortable. If you're looking for a horror movie that's a serial killer character study that's gonna make you uncomfortable as fuck and make you just feel gross like you need a shower, this is great for that.
And I'm gonna go. I actually do want to watch the Elijah Wood Maniac because
I enjoyed it.
Based on the baseline of this, I would like to go watch what they did with it when they had a budget and an amazing actor. But do yourself a favor and check it out. And again, great choice, Preston. I mean, thank you very much for recommending it to us because again, I doubt very seriously that Mike and I would have ever thought to review 1980 Maniac.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've seen the cover. It's one of those 80s horror movies that you see the cover and you're like, oh, that's a classic slasher. I gotta watch that at some point. So I was really jacked to the tits.
Or just hold it in my background.
When you pick this movie to watch, I'm really glad to have it in the repertoire now and have seen it. And that's what's great about these Patreon reviews. And that's what's great about Halloween Horror Month. And I hope you guys are enjoying your Halloween Horror Month. We love your fucking faces. And if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button to get some goddamn whamp in your mother.
Oh God. Go back to fucking the Norman Bates Hotel.
We watched a movie. Yeah. We watched a movie. We watched it. We watched a movie. Yeah. You know what? We did a review. We watched a movie. We watched a movie.